Hello, hello, good morning, good morning. Good to see everybody here. Thank you all for joining. Looks like we have a lot of folks in the chat. Let me just make sure my sound is right. Yeah, cool. Yeah, the stairway's back. Go ahead and let me know where you're joining from. I always like to see who here is in the chat. So let's go ahead and pull this up. Hello, Angel Cat from Seattle. Hello, Bern from Austria. Bob from New Hampshire. Sophie from Stuttgart. I like Stuttgart. I haven't been there in ages. We've got Christian from Belgium. Oh, Hanover, Germany. I was there last year. Kind of miss hopping around all over the place. Agile Gadgets from Texas. Nathan from Portland. Which Portland? Must be Maine. Tim from Durham, UK. Maurice from South Africa. This is wonderful. Good to see everybody here this morning. And we're going to chat about the Blackmagic ATEM Mini, of course, and any other live streaming questions you have that I might be able to answer. I don't have much of a plan again today. I've been in the middle of all sorts of stuff this morning. I actually just finished doing a talk at a conference, and I was, of course, using this same setup. And ended up, it worked great. I ended exactly on time, which is always my goal, is to hit the timing just right. So that was nice. And yeah, then I had to like reconfigure everything here on my desk to set it up for this show. I had the ATEMs in a different configuration there. I was actually doing the because I was using the ATEM as a webcam, right? Because I'm going into their conference platform via my computer. So I actually had it, my main ATEM was just like, one shot with my camera, this angle. And I wasn't doing anything fancy on that. And I was actually screen sharing into the ATEM, or not into the ATEM, I was screen sharing into the meeting platform. And because, that way it's optimized for screen sharing on their end. So, and there's two feeds that the audience would see. But then I was like, wait a second, I want to record a copy of this myself so I can actually have my own recording of this. But I can't do it on the ATEM because the ATEM is busy just being a webcam. And I don't want to do the picture-in-picture in that because I want to actually send them two video feeds. So at the last second, I was like, oh, what if I use my second ATEM as the one that's recording? And then, so I fed in the output of the first ATEM into the second ATEM, and I also mirrored my computer into the second ATEM. And I did the picture-in-picture that way, and then recorded that feed. So I think it worked. I was scrambling at the last minute, so I'm not actually sure. I haven't double checked, but I think it worked. And then of course I had to like undo all the wires here on my desk to get it back into this state for this program. So that was fun, a little stressful. Now I am ready to go. So if you are, that was a fun little story time. All right. So if you are, if you do have a question for me, make sure you mention my full name in the chat, and then it highlights it orange here, and I will be able to see your question a lot easier. So yeah, go ahead and let's kick it off with something. If nobody has any questions, I had something I was going to try, and I completely did not prepare ahead of time, so that could be fun. But yeah, otherwise, let me know if there's any questions. Where's my chat? Yeah. TGL says, can you use LumaKey on one of the inputs? I'm not quite sure what you mean. So the LumaKey will work on the upstream or the downstream keyer, and then you can take any of the inputs as an input into that. So it's, we can use it for doing graphics, for example. So I might try to do a demo of that in a minute with something I wanted to try on that. Some questions about that Hyperdeck situation, getting the Hyperdeck emulator on a Raspberry Pi. And so let me drop a link to that in the chat because it is an open source project and it is not mine. And it is still in progress. But I think if anybody feels like diving into some code, I think the developer may appreciate some help. So yeah, it's definitely rough. It's definitely like still early draft. It's not ready, which is why I haven't like done a tutorial on it or anything. But it was I would say, good demonstration of the fact that it is actually, at least theoretically, possible to do it. So, okay, here is the link to that GitHub page. Mark says, I've seen a few people print 3D stand for the ATEM. Do you find it more ergonomic? Is it worth it if you have only one? Yeah, so let me show you my little ATEM stand situation I've got over here, assuming that I've got my my Apple TV set up right to get my phone's camera feed over here. Oh, looks like it went to sleep. It got bored with me. Well, I'll do that in a second. There it is. Okay. Yeah. So I don't have that camera over there is too far away, and you can't really see the ATEMs are down here. So I actually have a iPhone app that'll do NDI camera, so I can actually wirelessly stream this into here. Here we go. Now it's working. What am I going to show you? I'm going to show you the. I'm going to show you just this camera, and I'll put myself in the corner. Whoops. Let's do. Nope, not that one. That one. So yeah, sorry about the disaster mess in this place. But this is my two ATEMs that are live, and you'll notice that one in the back has a little stand, so they actually sit nicely and kind of create this. I don't know. I shouldn't have put this computer here. This was a bad plan. Okay, normally I have the computer on the other side, but it creates this nice little surface. If you do have only one, it can actually be a little bit shorter, so it doesn't have to be quite that tall, and it is nice, actually. To have it kind of at an angle. It kind of, tilts it up. At home, I have a stand just for the one. I only use one at home, and it works well. I like it. They are 3D printed, so you can just like get the file on Thingiverse and find a friend with a 3D printer, or you can print one yourself if you have one, of course, or find someone in the forums who might have a printer as well and be willing to someone to you. Speaking of the forums, if you haven't already found our forums, they are a great place to go and keep chatting about all the stuff after these live streams, and there's a bunch of people on those as well. So yeah, I'll drop a link there. Cool. So let me see what's going on in the chat. Now people are joining and asking questions. All right. So, all right, here's a question. Is it possible to set the local USB recording quality higher than streaming quality? It would be great to have higher quality files to edit later. Unfortunately, no. So there's only one like encoder in it, in the ATEM, and it's the same encoder used for recording to a disk and for streaming. So you can push 45 megabits per second up to YouTube. I've tried it. YouTube doesn't like it very much, and actually it caused some skipping on the YouTube side because they couldn't ingest fast enough. I have plenty of bandwidth going out from here, but 45 megabits is a lot to handle over the internet. So yeah, you do have the ability though to change the quality or the bitrate aside from just the ones you see in the drop-down. So when you have the little drop-down options in the ATEM software, those are the presets, but you can change those if you want. That's in the streaming XML file. All right. Stoffy says, I want to split the output of the ATEM into to project the program in several streams. However, all three tested splitters did not work. I would say just keep trying splitters. They're finicky sometimes. And also the HDMI output of the ATEM, I know they fixed something in the update. I'm still having problems with certain monitors. So it could be that that's also what's going on, but I would say try different splitters because generally, yeah, that should work fine. Okay. Tim says, someone reported the ATEM running very hot. Any experience with that or tips to avoid it? It gets hot, like it gets warm for sure. If you feel the side of it, like it's not even actually that warm right now. But yeah, it does get warm. That was one of the motivations for the stand actually, was to get it off of the table to make more airflow underneath. And there's a couple of variations of the stand that they're working on that have a fan mount on the back so that you can actually attach a fan and sort of blow air underneath it. That's one option, but honestly, I haven't actually had a problem with mine getting too hot. They've been working fine. All right. Is it easy to do side-by-side with 3 participants, portrait, or separately follow the speaker for switching? This is something that a lot of people have been trying to do lately because obviously everything is moved online. Not really. So, like, again, I'm going to use this layer analogy. So the ATEM Mini has an upstream and a downstream keyer, and then like the background video. So the background video, think of it as just like what's on the bottom of the stack. And you can use the upstream keyer to put one thing on top, and you can scale that or slide it around or key out to like take out the black or take out the green. And then you can do one more, which is using the downstream keyer to put stuff on the very top. And then you can only do Luma key on that. So, and you can't scale it. So you don't really have the ability to do 3 side-by-side views because you would need to be able to take inputs from 3 sources and move them around, or I guess 2 sources to move them around. You can do side-by-side with, you could get 3 if you had 2 ATEM Minis chained together. But at that point, that's just like a lot of wiring and a lot of work to get that to work right. And I'm not sure it's worth it at that point. Burn says, "Oh, this is the shirt from the conference talk. I find your lack of security disturbing." This is the Okta T-shirt, which is the company I work for doing security and OAuth stuff, and I had this on because I was doing that talk about OAuth this morning. Simon says, "Is the garbage truck back today?" No, it's not, because the street is still under construction, so nothing can get through. Good for the stream. All I know, everybody misses the garbage truck. Did you mention the super chat already? No, I did not. It's not as dramatic because I'm in a well-lit room, but you might notice there's a slight blue tint behind me. And if you do super chat, it will change that color to whatever the color of the super chat is. So feel free to try that out. Toby says, your computer you use for chat, is it used for anything else? Can you do HDR and screen share on the same computer? Set up using a macro to switch between the 2 settings. Ooh, that's a lot of stuff going on there. So I have my main laptop here is the one that like is this screen, and the one that I'm monitoring the YouTube console with, and I'm watching the current comments there, just in case someone says like, "Oh, your sound is gone" or whatever. And then this, of course, is the ATEM screen. And then this little computer, all it's doing is showing the chat. So you'll see like the comment is right there, and I can put that on the screen. So I've talked about this before, but this is a GitHub project that just adds some CSS to the YouTube chat window, and it's Luma keyed on top. So if you can't really see it, but like that background is not quite black, and then there's actually black behind it, so that it's able to key it out. And yeah, that works well. So I have this set up to do the chat, but this is also what has the map on it. So you can see there the map from the chat. I should close that because it use up. Oh, hi, good timing. Show that. Yeah, so the, where was it? There it is. I've got that. I've got the countdown on that screen as well. So I've got these 3 windows that I basically use on this computer. I could use H2R graphics on this, and that'd be cool too. Eventually, I will probably switch to that because it's got the chat feature built in, and it's a lot easier to manage that way. Using a macro, though, to control these things would be tricky because the ATEM, of course, can only control stuff within the ATEM plus the Hyperdeck. But I wouldn't be able to use a macro to control that. I could use the Stream Deck, which is, you can't see it, but it's on my desk here, to make the Stream Deck do some more stuff. Getting that to control a different computer is more of a hassle, so I'm not sure if I'll end up going that route. All right. Oh yeah, Ben says OBS has a free NDI plugin if you want to use a laptop to feed in an ATEM instead of an Apple TV. Absolutely. So if you have a spare laptop lying around and you want to full screen that or use the HDMI out from OBS, that's another great option as well. I just don't like dedicating laptops to that purpose. I like that I can just have this Apple TV here, and now this is just my NDI to HDMI converter, and that's like all it does. So I like that workflow a little better than using a laptop for it. All right. We're just cruising through the chat here. Can you explain cable types and adapters to connect audio hardware? For example, iPod Nano, 3.5mm port, and a Lightning port, Rode Wireless Go. I mean, so the ATEM Mini has a 1/8" audio in. It's somewhat noisy at the mic level. It works fine at line level. So if you want to, so like the music at the beginning of the stream was running off of an iPod Touch. So this iPod Touch is just has a 1/8" audio cable. It's just too short to show, but it's got an 1/8" audio cable running out into the ATEM Mini, and then it just got some music loaded in there. And then if you were to use, so yeah, if you have an iPod that doesn't have an 1/8" jack, although I don't think don't have an 1/8" jack, you would need the, like if you're using an iPhone, you get the Lightning to 1/8" adapter, and that should work fine. The Rode Wireless Go is a fantastic microphone. I actually was like thinking about bringing it today for some reason, but I did not. It's the little square one. It's got a lav mic, wireless, and it's a little square receiver. It's super tiny, super portable. Love it. I was using it a lot to record my presentations in person because I could throw it on the camera at the back of the room and then stand at the front of the room, and it's just a camera and a mic receiver connected at the back of the room, no wires to run or anything. And that has a 3.5mm port on the back as well, and that could connect into the ATEM Mini Pro also. Cool. So Carlos says, if you have an Android device, you could theoretically use its built-in screencast function to broadcast the live camera app to the connected Chromecast. Yeah, I can do that with the Apple TV too, because I could screen share my phone. What I'm not sure about though is AirPlaying on the phone will just mirror the screen, and that means they'll have all the overlays and stuff. If the camera app on the Chrome on Android doesn't do that, that's awesome, and that's another good solution. I do have a Chromecast connected in here as well, but I don't have any Android phones to try it with. But the Chromecast does provide a couple of fun things that you can do, from sharing browser tabs and things like that into the ATEM as well. There's a non-NDI camera app that gives a clean output to AirPlay. Oh, non-NDI camera app that gives a clean output via AirPlay. That's a cool idea too. I might try give that a shot, see how it works. The latency on the NDI though is like fantastic. I think it was last week I was doing I did a demo where I actually showed myself talking on the NDI stream, and people did not see a delay at all. So I would hope that this AirPlay option would also be that fast, but I'm not convinced because AirPlay typically has a bit of a lag. But that's cool. I will try that out. Oliver says, do you know if any of the older Blackmagic cameras work with the ATEM, like really old ones? As long as there is an HDMI out, it'll work, like almost guaranteed. And it won't be able to control anything except the Pocket Cinema 4K, 4K and 6K. That's the only one the ATEM Mini can control. But you'll get a video feed from almost any camera. Oh, Ben says this was about the earlier question. Ben says if you run a dual ATEM Mini Pro setup, you could stream on one and record on the other, and use aux outputs to send camera feeds to the streaming ATEM. Yeah, totally. So you can, yeah, that'd be a good way to do it. I was actually effectively doing that because I was using my first ATEM as a webcam, so the USB port was taken up, and the second ATEM I was actually streaming it to a private YouTube feed. I didn't have a hard drive here to record to a disk, so I just streamed it up to a private YouTube feed. But that meant that I was effectively getting two totally different recordings out of it, which was nice. Mark says, when splitting, do both monitors have to be the same type? Was this in regards to the earlier question about splitting the HDMI out from the ATEM? I don't think they do have to be the same type because the monitor will sort of figure it out. One of them is going to win out on the HDMI handshake and tell the ATEM which frame rate to use. But the monitor should be able to figure it out themselves. So, like, my laptop is actually sharing this. It's mirroring this screen. Actually, there's like a dongle back here which has two HDMI outs. So my computer thinks there's one monitor, but it's actually sending one HDMI to this and one HDMI to the ATEM. So it appears here in the ATEM as well. So if I wanted to start showing stuff on my screen, I can do that. And those are obviously very different screens. Roger says, your stream says it's 1.5 seconds behind. What settings do you use to get that low? I've only managed 7 seconds at the lowest. Where do you see that it says 1.5 seconds behind? That's fascinating. I have not seen that reported as a viewer. But that's cool. Yeah, so I'm using the right clock. Oh, if you are looking at the... Oh, wait, do you mean the clock on my screen? Right click, Stats for Nerds. Oh, thank you. Okay. Stats for Nerds. I have just literally never looked at that. That's awesome, though. What I'm doing is I am at ultra low latency. So that is usually around 1 or 2 seconds. And it does not work at 1440 or 4K, as you see here. So it could be that if you are trying 1440 or 4K, that's why it would not let you choose that. But yeah, it works pretty well. And I like that because it means that the chat is, I don't have to wait a long time before I see responses to me. Cool. And yeah, I totally forgot about that Stats for Nerds feature. Can you share the file with the coordinates for your 3D printed stand? I'm using a tablet PC stand, which does not work very well, but has a mount for a tripod. That's cool. Yeah, I think I have the link here. Where did I put it? Where did I put it? It's on Thingiverse. I need to bookmark it so I can get back to it easier. It's in one of my other live streams too. Oh, here it is. It's in my browser autocomplete. So there's like 3 variations in this. So pick the one you want, because one of them is the design that I requested with slightly higher base so that it clears the cables under the other ATEM Mini. Otherwise, if you have just one, it's actually nicer that it's like closer to the desk. But I wanted it just high enough so that the cables from the other ATEM Mini go under it. Cyber Shadow says, some streams ago you said you were looking for a small multi-view monitor. I got lucky with a generic Chinese CCTV screen. Why Maxit brand? Cool. I'll take a look at that. I've gone through 3 or 4 now and no luck. So the only ones that have worked for me are computer monitors, like full regular, like these. This one here, this is a nice Dell 1920 1080 native resolution, and field monitors for cameras, like the little tiny ones, like the 5-inch or 7-inch ones. So I'm still looking for something around like 10 or 11 inches, so that it's. I want to put it like under. Actually, I want to put it under here, probably right there, and then I get 2 computer monitors that way. Because when I'm actually doing like workshops where when I am doing slides and also like live coding during the workshops, I prefer to have extra screen real estate for my computer, not using it up as the multi-view. But for this stream, it makes sense to dedicate this big one to the multi-view because I want to make sure I know what you are seeing, and I am doing a lot of switching and pulling up different features on the ATEMs. Christian says, oh, this is a cool idea. Zoom will be able to put the gallery view on one screen and speaker view on the other when multiple monitors. You could feed both into the ATEM and switch between the gallery view and the speaker view. I like that. That's a good idea. I might have to give that a try. That'd be very cool, though. Yeah, that's a cool idea. Tim's garbage truck came this morning at 7:30. Nice. Cool. If you are just joining us and did not hear the earlier comment about the garbage truck, it's a recurring theme on this channel. Chances if you had any issues with an HDMI input dropping after an hour or 2. An input dropping? No. Cannot say that I have had that problem. I've had a lot of these on for... Actually, I leave the main one on my desk here on, like powered on all the time, because I just don't want to unplug it. I take the other one home with me between things. But no, I haven't had any problems with heat at all. I'm going to jump down because Dave says the Elgato 11.6 for around $75. That is one of the ones I tried and for some reason did not work with mine. I don't know if I just got unlucky with 2 in a row that didn't work. So, yep. Ben asks, does the HDMI out send the audio mix regardless of what aux output you've selected? Yes. The HDMI out audio is always the program audio. So, I kind of want to verify that now that I say that out loud. I'm like 99% sure. Do I have an easy way to test this? I think I do. So, okay. What we're going to do is... Oh my god, I cannot listen to myself on a delay. This is a test ATEM Mini. And I'm going to switch to turn my camera audio on into that. Turn off my camera audio from the main ATEM. And turn it back on from the other ATEM. Okay. So now we're listening to the HDMI output of the test ATEM now. So if I, for example, you're looking at the multi-view and you can still hear me. If I switch to input 1, you can still hear me. If I switch to something that does not have me on it, like the chat, you can still hear me now. So yes, the HDMI audio is always program output. Now let me switch back so I don't confuse myself. Okay. Glad we verified that. Thank you for the question. Jonas, Jonas is the one writing the Hyperdeck software. Still in progress, it works but not stable with Omex Player. If someone wants to help, you're welcome to do so. Yeah, so take a look at the link I dropped in the channel. It's on GitHub, it's open source. Give it a shot, and if anybody knows how that kind of stuff works, go ahead and try to fiddle with it until it works a little better. I have never even tried writing any kind of code that works anything like that, so that is out of the realm of my software world. All right. Mike says, In what ways have you used the Chromecast and what version? It is the, I believe, current Chromecast, current model. I don't know how version numbers work in Chromecast. I've mostly right now only used it for testing. I was originally planning on using it for in-person events so that I could have multiple options for speakers, for presenters, to share their screen. So a lot of times I'll have trouble with HDMI from various laptops. Actually, not so much with the ATEM Mini Pro, but again, I haven't used it I've only used it in, I think, one live event setting before everything shut down. But with a lot of the other HDMI devices or switchers, there's often a lot of trouble getting the signal from laptops and between Linux and Windows and different versions of Macs. It's a huge hassle. So my idea was, if I bring a Chromecast, I can just have that available so that people can share from a Chrome tab, screen share, or share their slides from Chrome directly into the switcher. Plus, it's also wireless, which is nice. And I would probably also bring an Apple TV to the gig so that I had multiple options for people. But the one that I've got here is, I don't even think, there's not a whole lot I can show on it. I guess I could share my laptop screen onto it, but that was the plan, right? So the Chromecast is that second, this one. And if I go into this and like, I should be able to share my Chrome. Where did it go? Did they? There it is. Cast. I thought there was 3 little dots in Chrome, in the Chrome browser, of like how to get to the menu. Oh, there it is. Okay. So yeah, I can just share this tab and boom, now it's over there. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, so as I switch around on my screen now, that map is still showing up there, which is pretty cool. Oh, I should actually, that's a good idea. Now I get 2 outputs from this laptop. Oh, I like this. Well, cool. I might have to think about other ways to use that. All right. Some other chatter about the Hyperdeck. Agile Gadget says, what are your thoughts about using companion software without a Stream Deck? So the Stream Deck is this hardware buttons, of course, and I like this a lot because the buttons, they're programmable, so you can make them say whatever you want, change the colors, so I get the nice color-coded buttons that I can use to like switch to various things. If you don't have this, you do have other options of controlling the Stream Deck or the companion software. So if I go to my computer, I've got Companion up in here. Companion admin. Come on. Oh my god, my computer is just not happy with how much I've been unplugging things this morning. So you can actually go and click on this emulator, which brings up a full screen browser. This is silly. That's not what I meant to pull up. I meant to pull up web buttons. So this is now, realistically, you'd probably put this on an iPad, and then you can, you get these very large buttons that are tap buttons. And this will work totally fine as well. I do like the Stream Deck, the physical device, just because it's nice to have it like tipped up at an angle. It's nice that it's always there. But the same functionality is available when you do, when you use the software buttons like this, which is pretty cool. Cool. Oh yeah, Nathan says Filmic for iOS allows you to do clean video from an iPhone. That's what I've used over HDMI out. What I'm not sure is whether that works over AirPlay. So that was my question. And I guess I could try it, see if I have enough set up to, since I do have the Apple TV plugged in. But so Filmic, it's like a nice camera app, and it does, when you plug in HDMI, which I don't have with me, the feed that it sends out the HDMI is clean. So this is actually a great option for using an iPhone as a camera into your ATEM Mini, because it is clean HDMI out, which is great. But what I wanted to test is what happens if I, what happens if I actually go and share my screen into, or share my phone rather. Can I even pull down the share? I can't pull down the share menu in horizontal mode. So AirPlay, screen mirroring, mirror to the studio, which is, let me switch over to, so you should see it here. Yeah, so that's my screen mirroring, and then I'm in the Filmic app, and you can actually see that it's, okay, let me switch back to and show this in real full screen. It is, I'm going to switch to, where's the flip camera button? I do not use this app enough. There we go. So if I show you that, what am I doing? I want to actually show you that. There we go. So this is the feed from my camera, and this is AirPlaying to the Apple TV, so you're probably seeing a delay. But also notice that there's all the controls over it because I'm, screen mirroring. And I don't know if there are any buttons in here to control whether or not those overlays appear. So if you do know, let me know, because that would be interesting to know if that's an option. Yeah, sorry about the notifications. I was not planning on showing stuff on my screen. I normally do turn on Do Not Disturb when I share my devices. All right, where were we in the chat? What is the max you recommend I can change my upload to before YouTube starts glitching? 500 megabits down and 50 upload available. I was pushing, I think, 25 up to YouTube, and it was complaining. I'm pretty sure they only want, actually it's complaining right now. That's strange because normally it does not complain about this. Look at this. The current bitrate 5.7 megabits. Oh, it's lower, and then This doesn't make any sense. YouTube is a little bit bad at math this morning. It says 5.7 is too low. Use 4.5, and then it says 5.4 is too high. It wants some, yeah, again, almost 6 is lower, and then 4 is higher. That's backwards, right? So anyway, it's saying it wants 4.5 megabits, and I'm on, I believe I'm on 4.5 megabits, or maybe 6. But yeah, that is about what I would cap it out, because YouTube just gets unhappy. Otherwise, so yeah, but generally, if you don't have twice that available on your network, I would bump it down. So if you do want to stream at 6, then make sure you have at least 12 up, just to leave some wiggle room. And yeah, now it says the stream's bitrate is too low because I was screen sharing, and anyway, YouTube's bitrate alerts are a little bit touchy. Cool. If you have not seen a stream before on my channel and are wondering what I'm using to show these comments, I have explained it and done not like a proper video on it, but I've talked about it in a couple of live streams in the past. I think there's actually one that has it like in the thumbnail. You'll see like a comment in the thumbnail, and that's the one where I actually talk about it and go through how to set it up. It's not a tutorial, but it is informational. Oh, I'm now just catching up to the Stats for Nerds part of the thread. Burns says, what 3D printer do you use? I do not have one. I had a friend print these out for me. So I have no idea. No idea. All right. Tim says, we're looking at maybe using the ATEM Mini Pro in a venue with some fairly long HDMI cable runs. Any experience of how long a cable run is practical? Yeah, so 25 meters is very long. I don't think that's going to work well. However, it's usually the fault of the camera and only partially the fault of the receiver. So the, like I've tried even here, actually this wide camera, this is the Sony ZV-1. This is on a cable that's about, I think it's maybe 8 feet, maybe 6, I think it's 8 feet. And this is working. I have another cable that's like 12 feet and it does not work. It's, it sends a signal, but then it is, actually, if you look at last week's, I think it was last week's or the week before, I can't remember which stream, in this part of the, so where am I pointing this? Literally right here in the picture, where this sort of like chest, this closet thing is, it was because my mic was in the shot. My mic is pink. It was a little bit, yeah. When the mic was in the shot, there were like pink pixels appearing right here. And it had something to do with the HDMI artifact of running the signal that far. I don't really understand how, but it was a problem. So there was little pink speckles. And then every now and then it would also just like completely black out for like a frame. And I switched to a shorter cable and it's working great now, I think. Unless, tell me if you see the speckles. I don't see them on my preview, but let me know if you see them in the stream in this shot. So that's that camera. I have a GH5S, which I've used sometimes in this spot. And that one works with a 12-foot HDMI cable, no problem, going to the same ATEM Mini. So it has a lot to do with the source of the signal as to whether that's going to actually work. But yeah, in any case, I'm pretty sure 25 meters is going to be too long for a regular HDMI. There's also fiber, HDMI over fiber, which I don't have any myself, but I've heard people having good success with that option. So that can actually go a lot farther because then you're not dealing with voltage loss over copper. You are dealing with light instead. So that can go, I've heard people have done like, I think 300 feet on that, which is fantastic. So give that a shot as well. Cool. But yeah, it does depend on the camera, so it's worth testing. All right. Stofy says, is it possible to restore the macros and media settings after power off automatically? Where are the media files stored? So good news and bad news. Everything in the ATEM except the actual images themselves can be saved and they will come back on boot. So the way you do that is you go into the software control and then you go File, Save, Startup, State. And I should probably just do this because it's been a while since I've done that. And that's going to actually save whatever is currently here into the device itself so that when you power it on, that's what comes back. And that's going to include everything except the media pool. The media pool is unfortunately not saved into the device. And some of the higher end ATEMs do include the files in the export or in the switcher when you do that. This one does not. I'm really bummed about that. I wish they would have included that feature. So those do not get saved into the ATEM. However, you can also go to File, Save As, and that is going to save an XML file with all your settings, which is, God, my computer is really struggling today. So here is my XML file for this program, and you'll see there's everything from like, here's what's currently active, here's the multi-view, here's the buttons, here's the audio settings. My favorite part is the macro section. This is where I've got all my different macros for bringing up various picture-in-picture, main camera. I've got all the DVEs for scaling and stuff. So that's all saved in the XML. That's a lot easier to edit this way as well. And then there's also a folder in here called ATEM Media Pool, and that is where it saves all of the actual images. And they're on your computer, so they're just in a folder on the computer, so that when you restore this XML file, it will also push those images back into the ATEM. But it does not save it across boots, except for just the snapshot of the settings. Hopefully that helps. Okay, we've got... Have you ever experienced issues with the ATEM Mini Pro not being recognized as a webcam using the USB port? I feel like it's happened a couple of times, and I don't know whose fault it is, whether it's my laptop's fault or the ATEM's fault, but usually like unplugging and plugging back in or rebooting the ATEM fixes it, and it hasn't really been a problem. All right. Camille says garbage. You all just like hearing that noisy truck. Well, it is not here today. Dave says, have I tried long fiber HDMI? No, I haven't myself. I don't really have any use for it right now, given that I am not traveling and filming conferences right now. So we'll see if that ever comes back to being a thing again. Maybe I will grab one and see if it works. Or if I do, when I do move back into the studio downstairs, then maybe I'll have a use for a cable run that has to go across the whole room. We'll see. What kind of network connection do you use when you go to do live shows and you're using any backup LTE? So for live shows where I'm going to someone to film a live event, I ask them to provide a wired connection because that's the most reliable. And then if they do, that's generally stable enough and I don't worry about a backup plan. Especially because it's obviously their problem if something goes wrong at that point. And I haven't ever had a wired connection fail. If I was streaming over Wi-Fi, I try not to because it's very flaky. For that, I would bring a backup connection, which I did have to use at one point, actually. They couldn't get a wire to me. They did bring in like Wi-Fi for the event itself. And somehow, I don't remember why, it flaked out and I was able to switch to my phone's LTE connection. So I just did Wi-Fi sharing from my phone. And that worked fine. And my phone's LTE, I was in the city, so it was fast enough to push the stream up at the regular bitrate. Nitesh says, is it possible to do live custom closed captions using the ATEM Mini? For example, a speaker speaking in French and we want to do live translation in English and show subtitles. So you would need to bring it in the way I'm kind of like the way I'm bringing in these chat comments, where you would need the transcriptionist to the captionist to be able to provide captions in a way that you can key them on top of the video. So you could do it. There's a lot of them that have like web platforms for viewing the captions. You could just put a web browser on your screen and then like crop it out using the downstream keyer would be probably the best option for that. And then that would probably be, yeah. And then it doesn't really matter what software you're using for doing the captions. That would totally work. So it's really just a matter of, can you get the captions to appear on a computer screen in the right spot so that when you crop that on the ATEM, they show up in the right spot. John Barker from Here to Record says, finally watching live. Again, good to see you all again. Hello, John. Good to see you live. Zach says, hi, Zach. Good to see you again. I use LiveAir Solo for iPhone clean HDMI out. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that one. That's another good one. LiveAir is for, I forget, there's like a totally different world of iPhone streaming stuff. And that's what it's really meant for. But it does happen to do clean HDMI out as well, which is great. That's another good option. All right. Oh, so the delay is very slight with AirPlay. That's good to know. Okay. And yeah, I am gonna turn on Do Not Disturb because I usually do, and I was not planning on sharing my phone, and I just forgot. Nathan says you need to dismiss the UI to make it clean. Okay, cool. I didn't see a dismiss button, but I didn't look very hard, so I will look harder. Mark says, "Will you use what version of Companion are you using?" That's a good question. I'm using 1.4. So I haven't tried upgrading this, but I have heard people say that 2 doesn't work with the Mini for some reason, but I haven't really looked into it. All right. Wow, we got a lot of questions in the chat. I'm way behind. Tim says that's why I recommended Shoot because it's inexpensive and simple. I'm gonna check that out as well. I should write these down so I don't lose them. But these are all great options for doing using an iPhone. So Shoot, Filmic, and Live View. Those are the 3 I think that I'm gonna look into later. Cool. David says you should let people know that OBS is not in the App Store. You need the web link. That is a good point. You just go to OBS. I think it's OBS Project, but if you just search for OBS Mac or something, or OBS Windows, it'll probably turn up. Joe says, have you ever tried controlling the ATEM Mini Pro from a remote location over the internet? If so, any suggestions? I have, in fact, done this. And so I'm at my studio right now. At home, I have a separate setup with a different lighting, a different studio. And I actually have a VPN between the 2 sites. So I'm able to treat both networks as if they were local, but they're privately accessible. And basically, you just go into the ATEM software control and type in the IP address of the other ATEM, and it works. So that's what I've got. That's once I've got my VPN set up, basically everything is accessible on both sides. I'm still working on figuring out what to actually recommend for other people because the way I've got it, it's not terrible. It's using WireGuard, which is like one of the easier VPN softwares to configure. But I'm running it on 2 Raspberry Pis. And I had to go into the routers on both sides and also configure static routes in the routers. So I feel like that's like 3 steps of explaining to do of like, how do you set up a Raspberry Pi? You know, how do you SSH into it and configure the VPN software there? And then getting into your router and configuring a static route, that's not easy. So I'm trying to figure out what's the setup I can actually recommend to people. I'm going through a couple different VPN options right now. So yeah, that's if you're about to throw suggestions at me for VPN software, I'm pretty sure I've tried them all at this point. If you do have suggestions for layer 2 VPNs using WireGuard or what was it, some of the other ones I was using, Zero Tier, I feel like my networking knowledge is like more than the average person. I have not been able to figure it out yet. So, yeah, if you can figure out a layer 2 VPN solution tutorial and point that at me, I would appreciate it. But none of the ones I found that are easily Googleable have actually worked. But I still have to spend some more time on it, and it just eats a lot of time. Lorian says, and you mentioned Raspberry Pi Hyperdeck, any GitHub links? Yeah, there's it's in the chat somewhere. And it's also, I'll put it in the description of this video afterwards, but I think it's in the description of last week's video as well. All right. Kevin says, I've been using a 25-foot HDMI cable for streaming out of a GH5S with no issues, but it's a beefy cable. Yeah, so GH5S, beefy cable, and 25 feet, not 25 meters. That doesn't surprise me. But yeah, you need a good cable and a good source for that to work well. Cool. Hans says, how do you sync your audio? I was not successful to sync with the Rode USB mic to the PC and cameras. This audio you're hearing is this little pink microphone Movo microphone connected directly into that camera. So I don't have any sync issues because the camera is sending the audio and the video together to the ATEM, to the stream. And the ATEM Mini Pro, both the ATEM Minis now do have audio delay built in. I did a video on that now several weeks ago. Time is just flying, but check out that video because I have a cool trick in there about tips for how to actually figure out what the sync is that you need to program into it. That works for syncing up camera video with the audio in on the ATEM Mini headphone jack or mic jack, 1/8 inch jack. If you are using the ATEM Mini as a webcam into your computer and then bringing in a microphone into your computer, you are almost certainly going to have issues always. And that is just because you're using two separate USB buses in the computer. I have not had a good experience. I've heard people struggling with it for in various configurations. If you have a beefy enough computer, if you have a strong, fast laptop that's better than my 13-inch MacBook Pro, it'll probably work, especially if you have separate USB ports that are not sharing an internal bus. But yeah, I would recommend trying to get your audio into the ATEM, syncing it so that it's synced in there. That's just a lot more stable. All right. More chat. Where are we in the chat? Chris says using the ATEM Mini Pro as a webcam for GoToMeeting is a big issue. Yeah, so I haven't actually. I think I did do one event in GoToMeeting. I normally use Zoom, and then today it was some conference platform that was just screen sharing from Chrome and camera sharing from Chrome. But I haven't used GoToMeeting. I think it really depends on the computer and like the power of the computer in order for that to really work well. Ronald says, I'm going to use $200 full HD camcorders for a low budget live stream studio. Will that work well? Yeah, there's a Canon camcorder that's like $200 that I like a lot. I think it's the Vixia RF800. Do I have a link to that? I don't think I do. But I will say the lower end camcorders like that, it's nice that they're so simple, and they usually have clean HDMI out by default. You don't have to worry about that. They're usually not great in low light, so you want to make sure you're lighting yourself properly. But that's also true just in general. You want to make sure you have good light always. So that's going to make the biggest difference if you're using a lower end camera. So, all right. Camille says, what additional devices would perfectly complement the ATEM Mini Pro? I would say you need some sort of monitor to look at the multi-view. I think that's pretty useful. Doesn't really matter what monitor, but I would I like the 7-inch size actually for a portable setup. It ends up being about like that big, so it's a little bit shorter than the ATEM Mini. And then aside from like obviously cameras, what else? A control surface. So either the Stream Deck with a computer or this one, which is Strata Macros on the iPad, which I've mentioned before. And this gives you a lot more power in what you can actually tell the ATEM to do, because the buttons on the top are limited in terms of what they can control. So I like having something like this to be able to run macros, which let you switch more than one thing at a time with one button press. And I just noticed that my background changed, which means there's a super chat down here. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And we are still in very difficult times. So I still want to remind everybody that until I hit $500 of super chat revenue, I am donating it and matching it. And actually, because I'm donating through my employer, through Okta, they are also matching it. So your super chats go a long way right now. So the question is, are you able to use or sync touch portal on an iPhone or Android in place of a Stream Deck. This has come up a couple of times before, and I keep forgetting to look into that app, touch portal. But almost certainly, yes. So if anybody in the chat has a quick answer to touch portal, do feel free to chime in. But I will try to bring it up here and see if I have a quick answer. But yeah, my computer is just really struggling right now. This is why I don't use my computer to stream, because I guarantee you I'd be dropping frames left and right if I was streaming from OBS on this laptop right now. Touch portal on the iPhone. So the integrated services, OBS, keyboard shortcuts, Mac functions. The question is, can it send keyboard shortcuts to the software control app, for example? I'm not sure. And it doesn't look like it has the ATEM built into it. So there may be a plugin. I don't know. I don't know the answer to this one. I'll have to look into that more and see if it's a good option. But thank you for the super chat. All right. Oh, Simon says, we tried using pfSense. That is one I have not tried yet. I am trying to keep this something that can be explained relatively simply. I don't want to drive people through like a bunch of command line tutorial steps to try to get this set up. So, but yeah, I actually haven't looked at that one yet. So I will try to remember to do that. An HDMI extender over Cat 5 or 6, full HD, 1080p lossless. Oh, cool. Okay. I do have a couple of no-name HDMI extenders at home that I haven't had a use for lately. And I've done, I believe, 300 feet on those. This was before the ATEM Mini Pro was out, or the ATEM Mini was out, even though it was to the television studio that I use at the larger events. But I've used those to run really long cables, which is great. $30 is a price that I've not heard of before for that, so that's cool. Give that a shot. Ben says, audio hijack for Mac. Oh yeah, so if you do want to use a USB microphone, then audio hijack is a good option for doing a lot of routing of internal computer audio, including adding delay. However, I try to just keep all of that out of my computer if I can help it. Tim says, have you tried doing semi-transparent keys? Solid white text, semi-transparent gray background. Yeah, watch this. So if I'm not gonna be able to show you my computer as I do this, but watch the chat. If I just change the clip and gain of the key that is doing this chat right now, I can make, so that's the background. If I don't have that set right, the background isn't gone. And then the other direction should bring more of that. So if I set it right there, now it's semi-transparent. So if I had a better source image, it would work better, obviously. Actually, this is kind of nice. Maybe I should change it so that it does look like this always. But yeah, so if you look at what I'm doing on the computer, this is what I was messing with. Now, oh, right, when I do that, it changes the key setting. This is why I have two of them, and I don't remember if I have it in the right spot to be able to show that to you. So, okay, yeah, this is what I was adjusting. And you can see how it affects the chat up in the top. Right. So changing the clip will change how much of the background is taken out or it becomes translucent. And I use macros to restore it so that I can just have one button to bring it back to this. Is there any way to increase the size of the buttons of the macros in the ATEM software control? I don't think so. It's silly because the little macro window is like this little thing. And you can, like, once you press recall and run, you can actually then press these to actually control the show. This is not a good interface. Very small buttons, hard to figure out what's going on where, which is why I like having it on an external thing like this, so that you get nice giant buttons, or the Stream Deck, which gives you these colorful buttons. Yeah, no way to change it in the software control app though. Dave says, thoughts on streaming a live event on YouTube versus Zoom? For weddings, which platform is best? I've used YouTube, but I'm worried YouTube may mute audio if we have popular music. Yeah, if you're streaming on YouTube, do not stream copyrighted music at all, because YouTube will flag it. And there's, depending on what song you're playing, the flag may have different effects, like muting the audio. I think YouTube does that. I don't remember if it's only Facebook that does that, or they may not care, and they may just change to show an ad that then gets paid to the music studio, or it might flag your account. Anyway, don't do that. If you have live performers, it's probably not going to get automatically flagged, but again, like, who knows? I wouldn't risk it. So Zoom doesn't seem to care about what goes over Zoom, and that's probably safer. You can, if you pay for the high enough plan in Zoom, you get the webinar mode, which lets you broadcast to, first of all, more people. If you need, I forget the number, but I think maybe 50 is the limit on a regular meeting. And if you need more people to watch, you can do the webinar mode, but then they also turn into read only, where like view only, where they don't get to actually see, or they can't join with their camera and like join the stream. You can promote people to panelists, which is fine if you want individually, but by default, it's like a broadcast. Otherwise, with a regular Zoom account, you can still make the meeting like require permission to be people to have to turn on their cameras, but it takes more fiddling with the settings to do that. Zoom, the downside though is that you have to download an app to watch it. I guess technically you can watch it through a browser, but I haven't had a great experience with that. But if you are worried about the music copyright situation, I would not stream it on YouTube if you're going to be playing copyrighted music at all. Nathan says your computer may be slow because you are still casting a tab. It's my other computer. It's the chat computer that's doing the casting, and my main computer is just sharing to one external monitor. Maybe it's unhappy that Zoom is still open, although Zoom's not doing anything right now. I have no idea. Martin says, I'm watching the stream on a 55-inch Panasonic TV and the picture is blinking. That sounds like something on your end. Unless anybody else says it's blinking. It looks fine on here. And YouTube is not complaining other than the normal complaining it does. All right. What else we got? We're over an hour, actually. But there's still a lot of questions in chat, so I'll keep going for a little bit. I'm seeing no blinking, yeah. I'm not going to worry about that. Wait, again, you say it's blinking every other second. I'm pretty sure it's on your end, if you're seeing, like, actual blinking. David says, is it possible to stream direct to Zoom via Cat5 versus using my computer? And if so, how would you see the gallery on a monitor? Unfortunately, no. So Zoom needs a webcam, needs software on a computer that is pulling from a webcam. So there's not really a good way to push from the ATEM into Zoom. Some other online platforms do have that ability of what is it? Lightstream Studio. It can provide an RTMP endpoint that you can bring into the mix. So you can push from the ATEM Mini into that, which is cool, but not Zoom. What's a easy and low-cost way of bringing a remote live music performance into your ATEM Mini Pro live stream? I would say probably one of the online meeting platforms. So probably Zoom. Zoom tends to be pretty good, although there's a couple settings you need to do to make it not like clamp down the audio and mangle the music. But if you, I think it's like an advanced settings somewhere, you can go and tell it to use the original audio and it won't try to compress it for voice. But then you bring it into a computer, full screen it, and then like someone else suggested, which is a really cool idea, using 2 monitors into the ATEM, 2 HDMIs into the ATEM, so you can have one as the full grid view and one as the featured or pinned video. And then you can switch to those from your ATEM. So that's a cool idea. But any of the meeting platforms would work for that as well. How can I set live stream as 1280 by 720 for YouTube instead of full HD? ATEM Mini Pro, ATEM Mini Pro are only full HD, 1920 1080. They do not have an option to scale right now. I don't know if it's even a possibility that that could be released in a firmware update to change the output resolution. I wouldn't count on it. I feel like that's baked into too many of the circuits because this is not a computer. So I wouldn't count on it. All right. Have you tried using the Blackmagic microconverters to extend HDMI over SDI? This should be more reliable than HDMI extenders. Yeah. Normally when I'm doing conferences and large venues, I do bring SDI cables, and that works a lot better. And I think I have like only one of the Blackmagic ones. I have some of the other brands of HDMI SDI extenders, and those do work a lot better than HDMI, it turns out. SDI is actually made for this and made for long distances. HDMI is not really. Samuel says, I use Vimeo live stream over RTMP. That way I can have multi-view and save to the SSD and stream over Ethernet. Yeah, that's perfect. So I actually probably should get in the habit of recording these shows to disk. I don't. I just push to YouTube, and that's the only copy. But this show is streaming from the ATEM Mini Pro, live streaming from it directly to YouTube, and it's not connected to my computer. Like, my computer is only doing HDMI into it. I don't have the computer, the USB-C connected to it at all, so I could record that to disk as well. All right. I'm caught up to chat, and we're over time, but I'm going to take one last question here. Can you go over your basic live streaming setup, including the cameras? So quick tour. I'll do the quick version. I think I did an overview in my last. Oh yeah, before I do this, Randall says, anyway, take NDI into the ATEM Mini Pro. Yes, using a NDI to HDMI converter. What I have here running today is an AppleTV. You can, of course, use OBS as well on a computer. I just don't want to dedicate a computer to that project. So I got an AppleTV, which is a lot cheaper than a computer, and it actually works surprisingly well. If you scroll back in the stream a bit, and I'll try to put timestamps again on this, but that will, I did a little demo of streaming NDI from my phone. So close out with a quick tour of my setup here. This laptop is my control laptop, so this is what I'm using to see what you're saying in the chat, make sure YouTube is happy with me. Actually, I'm not even using this monitor down here. This is just Photoshop open. I'm really just using this monitor. And then this is where I can show you things like the XML and the software control interface. And you can see how I'm trying to click and it's not opening the window because it's really struggling today. But all this is doing is just giving me a way to show you things on a computer screen. This is plugged into this monitor. Also, there's an HDMI plugged into the ATEM Mini. So if you notice on my multi-view, that is the same as this because my computer is sending 2 HDMIs out, one to this screen, one to the ATEM Mini. This monitor is the multi-view out of my main ATEM Mini, which is this first one down here. That's the one that's doing most of the switching. That's what multi-view is. I've got my graphic here. I've got YouTube monitor here. I'm not recording it, as you can see. Audio meters. And then I have this wide camera, which is this one. Again, that's a computer. This one is this other computer over here, which is what I'm using for the chat. Again, chat as well as the countdown and the map of where people are joining from. And that's all I've got on this computer. These are just full screen web browsers. And this is plugged into actually the second ATEM Mini. The second ATEM Mini is, let me go and switch to that. So the second ATEM Mini is in this little corner here, and you can see that it's, I can now see the multi-view within the multi-view. If I show you the full multi-view of that, this is the one that is, you can see it says test down there. I put a different graphic on there so I can keep track of which is which. So you are now looking at the multi-view out of the test ATEM Mini, which has this camera split into both of them. So this is my main camera. It's a Lumix G7 with a 12-35 lens. It is going through HDMI splitter and split into both ATEMs so that I get this camera view in both. And then I've got a Chromecast plugged into input 2, which is casting that tab from this computer. And then the actual computer window here, which is what I've got, chat, countdown, or the map. And then the fourth one is the Apple TV. And earlier I did a demo of pushing from my phone over NDI into the Apple TV. And it just like freeze, when it loses the connection, it just freeze frames on whatever was the last image. But if you see, if I like go back to the home screen, it's just an Apple TV. That is that. This camera is the Lumix G7. I've got the Movo microphone up here. It's this little adorable pink thing running into the camera. And then this camera is a Sony ZV-1. It's got a little flip out screen so I can see it. And is that it? Oh yeah, the Stream Deck is how I'm controlling most of what I'm doing here, because I can make a button that does things on both ATEMs at the same time. For example, if I wanted to show you, switch to showing you like the multi-view of that ATEM, I need to tell it what to do on its HDMI out, versus when I switch to like one of the other views I have here, where I want to show the chat, for example. So you could see that, where is it? This changed because this is that ATEM. It went from multi-view into input 3, so that I can key it over this. And I think that's about it. Oh yeah, this little stand here is cool. I just got this. You can't really see it, but it lets me hide all the cables underneath. And then I've got a little place to rest, like the Apple TV and random things that aren't totally lost. And it has a wireless charging pad for my phone. So I like that. Cool. So, oh, then lighting. Thank you, Nathan. So lighting is, this is not my ideal studio environment because I am in a temporary space until downstairs is finished. So actually most of the light in here is just natural light from the room. I do, however, have one light up here. Big 1 foot by 2 foot LED panel. And if I turn that off, that's what it looks like. So without that, it's actually not, it's not even that badly lit, but you'll see this camera is now, well, it's because it's in manual mode, but not great lighting. So yeah, the lighting helps a lot with that 1 foot by 2 foot LED panel. I think I have most of this kit posted online, and I'll drop a link to that. I should actually probably do a proper update with what's actually on this desk right now, because I think I have a couple of different iterations of it on this page, but that link should take you to various configurations of the gear that I've been using. All right. Cool. So the I think that's about all the questions I have time for. Went a little bit over, but whatever, it's fun. I don't mind. Hopefully you all learned something today, got something out of this. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all very much for being here. I really appreciate it. Give this video a thumbs up. It does help. It helps it get recommended and pushed out in the future. And I know people do like watching the replays, so I have been leaving these up. I'm still on the fence about whether that's actually a good idea long term. So if you do like being able to watch the replays again, give it a thumbs up, because that lets me know people actually care about it. And if you have any questions, comment below, because I will also answer comments. Happy to keep answering comments in the on YouTube later. So with that, I will say goodbye and see you all later. Thank you very much.